Hello everybody, welcome to the first tutorial. Well, in today's video I will just be talking about the painting essentials for beginners. So if you're a beginner and you have never painted in your life, this video is for you. Well, just remember, absolute beginners, this is a perfect guide for you. So let's get started. I'm going to first tell you what you need if you're getting started with acrylic painting. So the first thing you need is paints. So I would suggest going for Camel Artist's Acrylics. These are great to get started with. But don't go ahead and buy a tube as big as this one. I would suggest going for something this small. This is 20 ml, and you can buy a whole set, a set of 12 Camel Artist's Acrylic colors, or you could also buy singles depending on what you want to paint. If you just want to get started with something, then choose what colors you want for your first painting and just go ahead and buy those, and then you can decide where to go from there. Well, Camel Artist Acrylics are not available everywhere. That was mostly for Indians. So you could also later choose Liquitex Basics. Even these come in smaller tubes, so you could go for those. Don't buy the big ones when you're starting off. Liquitex Basics are great, the pigment's great, and even when you switch to being a professional artist, when you start selling, you can still use Liquitex Basics. You don't have to switch to something bigger. Daler-Rowney Graduate Acrylics is also a great option. It's almost as good as the Liquitex Basics. Well, that's that with paints. Remember to buy smaller tubes, and if you're not sure yet, just pick a few colors and get started. The next thing you need is a paint palette. Well, this is the smallest paint palette that I have, and it is great. Just look for something like this. It also has a little pen here so you can hold it comfortably. You can put the colors here and you can do the mixing in this area. So this is a great option. Look for something like this. This is plastic and it is easy to peel off paints from this. Most palettes these days come with that option. You can easily peel off paints once they dry. Not if it's too thin, but if it is a little thick and it's dry, then you can just easily peel it off. So this is a good option. You need a palette, you can't do without one. Don't just directly put acrylic paints onto the canvas and get started. That comes later once you get the hang of it. So as a beginner, you do need a palette. I mean, everybody needs a palette. You need it to mix colors. The next thing is paint brushes. When you're just getting started, I would suggest just a couple of brushes, maybe 10 brushes max. Don't go for more than that. Well, if you're starting with acrylic, a wash brush for me is an absolute essential. You need this to cover large areas. If you have just a small brush, you will see if you're just painting, you will have to go over the entire area like that, and this is just not enough. So go for a wash brush, and this is about nearly 3 inches, and you can see how it covers larger areas very quickly. So this is what you need to go for. Buy a 2-inch or a 3-inch wash brush. Go for a round brush. This is a round brush. It is a Taklon brush, Taklon bristled. It's synthetic. Don't go for the very expensive ones. Just look for a good Taklon brush. I still use these, so it's really great. It's a great option. Filbert brushes. A filbert brush is something that is rounded at the tip like this, and this is an absolute essential. I do most of my paintings with filbert brushes. It's easier to get around edges like that, around lines. Say you have drawn a line like that. It is easy to just go through it like that and also cover up that area. So this is a size 8. A size 8 is a good option, and this is a size 12. So just go for 2 or 3 brushes. Next thing you need is a flat brush. This again, suppose you're working in an area, you can cover large areas but not as large as the wash brush. So this is a great option. Go for a size 12, a size 8 and a size 4. The next essential brush is a liner brush. This is nothing but a round brush in a size 2. You can go for a size 2, a size 0 if you want finer lines, right? So this is what you need. This again is a Taklon brush. So this is mostly all you need to get started with. A couple of flat brushes. I mentioned this is a size 12. You can go for an 8. You can go for a 4. This is a size 2. These are 8 and 12 Filbert. And this is a 12 round. You can also go for something smaller. It totally depends on what you're going to paint first. And not to forget the wash brush. Next, now that I've already mentioned paints and a palette, you need a palette knife. Well, this is a palette knife. It's actually metal. It's got a wooden handle and this thing is metal. This is the most common thing I use. It's not too small, it's big enough, and it's easier to mix paints like that. So it's a great option. You also get this. This is also very common. Well, you could also go for a plastic one. These are less expensive compared to the metal ones, and you get a set. You couldn't go for that, or you can just buy one of these, but I would suggest buying one in this shape. Let me remind you, never mix your paints with your brush. It is not a good idea. You will end up destroying your brushes too early, and you want your brushes to last long because they are quite expensive. So do buy a palette knife. Even one palette knife will do. The next thing I have to mention is canvas. You need a surface to paint on. So this is a canvas. You can see the it's just, you know, like a book. So buy something as small as this and you can get started on this. If you are not looking to, if you're just looking to get started and not hang it anywhere, or you could even frame this little thing. So it's really up to you what you want to choose. This is the first thing I would suggest going with. If you're an absolute beginner, just buy this. You can remove it from the pad like that. You can just tear it out and then you can tape it to your drawing board just like that, and then you can just paint. But if you're taping it, you will need a masking tape, something that will peel off easily and not destroy your painting. If you're confident enough to paint on something bigger and you're sure that you will hang it in your room or something like that, then I would suggest going for a canvas board. A canvas board is nothing but a piece of cardboard and a canvas is attached, is glued onto that, so you can frame it easily once you're done with your painting. So a canvas board is a cheaper option compared to a stretched canvas. Once you're confident enough to paint on something bigger, you can go for a stretched canvas. This is something that I've already painted on. This is a deep edge. It's quite thick. Usually stretched canvases are about this much, but this is a deep edge canvas that I'm showing you, and it is called a stretched canvas because it's stretched on a frame of wood. This is what it looks like from the back. So you can see this, it is a frame basically, and the canvas is stapled around here, and watch out for these clean edges. So when you paint on a stretched canvas, you don't actually need to frame it. You can paint along the sides and you can just hang it as it is. So I've mentioned 3 things: stretched canvas, canvas board, and a canvas pad. So I've mentioned it in the order before. The first thing that you can go for is the canvas pad. The next thing is a canvas board, and then you can go for a stretched canvas. So remember that the canvas is nothing, it almost looks like a piece of cloth. So you can see the grains here. Can you see that? Well, this is actually a medium grain. You get something finer than that. You can see fewer lines and it is very smooth. So that would be a fine grain, and there are some which you get with thicker grain, coarse grain. So I would suggest going for either fine grain or medium grain. Is fine grain takes very less paint and coarse grain takes a lot of paint, so it's best to get started with fine grain or medium grain. Next thing you need for acrylic painting is a spray bottle. You get this in any art store for about 30 to 40 rupees, and this is very essential to keep your paints wet. You don't want your acrylic paints to dry quickly. For that you just need to practice. You need to get started with acrylic painting. Only then you will know how fast acrylic paint dries. So buy a spray bottle which sprays a very fine mist and doesn't splatter all over the place. Alright, so the last few things that you need to remember is you need paper towel. So this is a kitchen towel roll. So you can use this, or you can use a tissue, or you could use rags to wipe off paint before you wash them off. That brings me to my next point. You need a wash tub. A good wash tub will do. Or if you don't want to go and invest into a wash tub right away, you could use an old glass jar or a glass bottle or any plastic container for that matter. You can use 2 containers and put water in them and just keep washing them as you paint, and in the end you can wash it with soap and warm water and dry them flat on a surface. Well, that is it. Let me go over the entire list once. So all that you need: canvas. You can go for stretched canvas. Okay, can you see that? Alright, so first thing, canvas. You can go for stretched canvas, you can go for a canvas pad, or you can go for a canvas board. Next you need paints. So remember to buy 20 ml tubes. You can buy Camel Artist Acrylics or Liquitex Basics or Daler Ronnie. Just look for what's available in your local art supply store. The next thing, you need brushes. I mentioned one wash brush. Then I mentioned a few Filbert brushes. Then I mentioned flat brushes and a liner brush. Alright, also a round brush. Well, oh sorry, I didn't get that. Alright, the next thing we need is a palette to take all your paints in and to mix your paints, which leads me to a palette knife. Alright, what comes next? You need a spray bottle. This is an absolute essential, remember that. And you need a wash tub or a plastic cup or anything you could use. Well, if you have any doubts that I haven't mentioned already in the video, please put them in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. Your next video, the next tutorial I'll be coming up with is about blending acrylic paints. So once I teach you blending acrylic paints, then I can come up with the next tutorial where you will make your first painting using everything that I've mentioned in this video and the next one. Have a great day.